Oh no. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hour of Healing. We are here again for this week's discussion, and you will not believe what we are about to talk about. I know many of you your minds will be blown away because we all have a certain perception in life, but we are about to shake things up and, hopefully heal some wounds and get us to the right path. We are about to talk about truth. What is your truth? Do you have a definition for truth itself? Do you go according to how society has defined the word truth, or you have your own? You're here to find out and see where it takes us, where God leads us. So, welcome again to Hour of Healing. I am your host, Candace. I'm here with Dr. Joe. I will bring him in and then we'll start today's discussion. Dr. Joe.
Thank you so much, Sister Candace, for hosting us today. Thank you, dear audience, for tuning in to another episode of Hour of Healing as well. You know, Sister Candace, as the weeks go by since our last recording, there's been a lot of things that I've been thinking about, a lot of ideas that has been coming into my mind. Um, and two main things stood out to me that made me bring about this topic for us to discuss today. And one was the idea that time heals all wounds. And the second was the fact that when something happens in our childhood or when something happens overall, sometimes for our older relatives or loved ones, they say that they will keep the truth away from us to protect us. And so when we are older and we go to them or we find out, they say, well, I kept the truth from you because I wanted to protect you.
Right.
And so, being who I am, I have been thinking about these two concepts, and I say something doesn't fit.
Right.
Because if time heals all wounds, then why would you not give me enough or as much time as possible,
To
no
heal
matter what
them.
happens, for me to be able to heal? And so when something happens, why don't you tell me, even though I'm young, so that time will heal it? So it's either that statement is factually false, or the fact that you were keeping the truth away from me to
Mm.
protect me is false. And so with this idea just juggling in my mind, I started asking myself, so what's my truth? What is your truth?
Right.
When something happens or when something has changed, what is the truth you gain from what happened? Because if someone is keeping something from you to protect you, you still have a truth about what happened. But is that the actual truth? And so that is kind of what brought about the whole idea of this topic was your truth. And so I pray that as we begin our conversation, we will be able to dive in and also be able to point certain things out there. So that's how this topic really came about. What's your truth?
That's a very powerful topic, by the way, because I think we need this discussion in our societies, in our communities, and in our generation. And it's interesting how you made an analogy with someone withholding truth from you. And I'm actually thinking about this because you said, the excuse is I was trying to shield you or protect you and stuff like that.
Correct.
But I'm actually thinking about that, hearing you say it, and I'm realizing sometimes too the person is probably shielding yourself or they're protecting yourself by not telling it to us when we were young, or maybe a loved one, a spouse, but of course it's easier to say I was protecting you, or for example, if like your spouse cheats on you and they tell you later on, no, I was trying to protect you, that person was trying to protect themselves because they know the moment they tell you this truth or this fact, you kick them out of the house. So I think, in other words, so we can look at it in an aspect of they may be protecting yourself as well, or shielding yourself. But my thing is, if someone does not tell you the truth, are they lying to you? Or have they lied to you? Like, say you were 5 years old, or you were like 12, and your parents did not tell you the full story about something that happened, and you grow up
Mm.
to be 20, and they are now telling you. Is it that when you were 12, your mom lied to you? Can we
Mm.
call that a lie, or they just?
That's a big one, Sister Candace. Because to understand that, we have to know what truth is, and also some aspects of truth. A truth by itself, by definition, is something that is in accordance or that is congruent with facts or reality. And so, whenever we talk about facts, facts are facts. They stubborn things. You cannot change them, my
Mhm.
mentor would say. Or reality. And that is really what brings about the idea of objective and subjective truth. Because, Sister Candace, all truth are not the same. Regardless of how we would like it to be, how we would want it to be, all truths are not the same. There is objective truth, like I said, which is fairly easy to understand. Um, Objective truths have to do with facts that are true regardless of the individual's beliefs or their acceptance of it, or their location, their environment. Objective truths are facts, period. So a common example is the boiling point of water. Science has it that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Now, regardless of what continent you live in, as long as you decide to boil water on this planet called Earth, water will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. Now, you can convert 100 degrees Celsius to whatever unit of measure that you use, but it will still be at that equivalent that water will boil. And so that is an objective truth. Those are facts. Most scientific principles are objective truths. You cannot change them. Our interpretation of them with time may evolve. Our understanding may evolve, and may I even suggest become better, but it still doesn't change it. When you take scientific laws, for instance, the law of gravity, this law has been used to make many things, including airplanes. The core of the law has not changed. The law of gravity has not changed, but our understanding of it has evolved
Expand.
over the years since the time of Isaac Newton, to the point that now we are able to make airplanes, and even with the airplanes, we are able to make different variations of them. These are all because of our understanding of that truth. And that truth is the earth does by nature exert some pressure on anything that goes up. And so, whatever goes up, the understanding is that it will come down. So,
Mm-hmm.
that is objective truth. Now, subjective truth is where it gets interesting, because subjective truth has to do mostly with an individual's experiences, their perceptions, their preferences. Now, there is a caveat with subjective truth that we will get into, I'm pretty sure, as we continue this conversation, because it always goes that way. But I want to just leave it there and answer your question about someone not telling you what happened, and whether that is a lie or that is truth. So, truth has to do with realities or facts. Now, this will fall under the umbrella of subjective truth. And the issue here is, for you to know that something is true or not, there has to be a reality of it. So, when that loved one kept that information away from you, there was a reality that you could have created with that information that they kept away from you. The fact that they kept that information away doesn't mean you still did not create a reality. You still did. And that is why this topic is about what is your truth.
Mm,
Because there is a truth, there is the truth, and there is your truth.
mm,
There is a truth that somebody else knows. There is the truth about what actually happened. And there is your truth
okay.
based on the reality
How you
that
perceive it.
you created.
Mm,
Now, the reality you created could be based on the what actually happened. In this case, helping you to be closer to the truth. Or the reality you created will be a fabrication of what happened.
mm,
And so, my dear loved one, even though you are trying in our society to shield someone from the truth, you are still lying to them, because at the end of the day, they still creating a reality based on what they will be told or what they considered as truth at that time. And
mm.
so, yes, you mean well, we know you do, but you lie.
Guys, did you hear it? You lying. You lying to your spouses by not telling them. So should we say that when we have to speak the truth, we have to always say it? Or there is a timing for the truth? Is it okay to lie to them and wait for the timing? Is this okay? I don't know
Wow.
if you understand this question. Is
Wow, Sister Candace. This is a powerful question. My goodness. I think this will take us all day. Um, and the magnitude of this question has so many branches, and I pray that God will give us grace to be able to touch on them, because this is so true. And the reason why I say this might take us all day is truth can kill when not delivered at the appropriate time. And so, the as much as not telling someone the truth is a lie, is also equally as painful and as impactful when you tell someone truth but at the wrong time.
fine.
Let me give you an analogy, Sister Candace. When you give birth to a child, as a loving mother that you are, you want to provide everything for the child. And so you feed them. But why do you feed them milk and formula rather than steak and french fries and burgers?
They can't
Why?
digest it.
They can't. But they are food. And as a loving mom, you want your kids to grow as much as they can and be as strong as they can. So, in this case, food is truth. But you realize that if you give food, the food that you eat as a mom, which is good for your bones and good for your health, if you give it to your newborn child, you will kill them. And in this part of the globe, you will be arrested for abuse, even though it's food.
Food.
That is how truth is. When truth is not delivered in a timely manner, whether it could be too early or too late, both instances can be deadly.
Yeah.
So there is a timing for truth.
Mm,
And the timing for truth factors in some or most of the things that we will be discussing today, because the context is very important. The context of what has happened. We are, I hope our audience understand that we are primarily basing our conversation on subjective truth. We're not talking about objective truth. That's why I said those are fairly straightforward. They facts, you can't do anything about them. Whether you were born today or 100 years ago or
It remains the
50 years
same.
from now, they're not going to change. Our understanding of those objective truths will change or evolve, I should say, but they're not going to change. We're talking about subjective truths here. Culture is a context for truth. And so when something happens, the individuals or the parties' cultural context
Has to be.
impacts the timing of when that truth has to be. For
Mhm.
instance, there are some cultures that, let's say you become pregnant out of wedlock, it's a taboo, it's an abomination. You can be killed for it. And so let's assume that someone is not they were born in that culture, but they have migrated to a different place where that is not the rule. They find a mate, they're not married yet, and then they have there's a pregnancy. Now, if you decide, being the good family friend that you are, to go back and tell their family or take that person back to their family to show them the good news, quote unquote, of them being pregnant
The
without
problem.
being married or out of wedlock, they may lose their life. So in this instance, the timing is culturally dependent. That's why I'm saying culture is a context for truth. The other instance is relationship is a context for truth, or it's a context of time for truth. There are truths that if you share with a family member, it's easy for them to take it in. But if you share with a stranger, someone you don't really know well, it can lead to a lot of negative consequences.
Right.
And so I will say this and then I will get Sister Candace's opinion and then I'll add a few more. But before you share your truth, not the truth, but your truth, understand the context of culture, the context of relationship. Make sure you know a bit about the person you are sharing your truth with. If not, then, dear listener, I will employ you that I think you will better serve that person by investing in knowing a bit about them before you share your truth with them. And I'll add a few more after getting your input, Sister Candice.
And to add on to what not to add, but I think I want us to branch off to a certain aspect and then we can come back. Based on the cultural and relationship aspect being, being a key role in who you share truth with, are we saying that somebody has to earn the right to hear the truth? Like someone has to deserve to hear the truth? Because if I have a certain relationship with you and I have it with someone else and I have it with another person, all three of them,
Mm.
I may not be able to share the truth with them. So someone has to qualify yourself for the truth. So if I want to speak the truth to someone, should I watch who deserve it? Should I pay attention to who has qualified for that truth? Is that what we are saying here?
So, yes and no. Yes and no, in the sense that, Sister Candace, nobody has to earn truth. I want our listeners to understand that we are talking primarily about I think there's a word, relativism. We are not talking about the absoluteness of truth. When it comes to the absoluteness of truth, everyone has to hear it at all times. For instance, God created the universe. That's an absolute truth.
Absolutely.
You can choose to not believe it, but you should hear it.
Because it's the
So you
truth.
don't have to, yes, you don't have to earn it. And then, for instance, in the example that I gave about the boiling point of water, that has an absoluteness to it.
Right.
And so everyone should hear it at all times. Another truth, when we talk about absolutism, that's the term, we're talking about things like, okay, you or everybody deserves healing. That's an absolute truth. You may choose to believe that you don't deserve healing, but that is a reality you have created. And so you have moved something that is an absolute truth to become a relative truth.
Right.
Something that is a fact, you have changed it to become a perception. So I hope that
Yeah.
clarifies that, because that understanding is important for me to address what you're saying. With that in mind, you have to know that when it comes to truth sharing, there is an interpersonal understanding that has to play a role in truth sharing. And that is what I'm referring to. Because objective truths don't need understanding or relationships. They don't need context because they are already facts.
Right.
Subjective truths need context. And if it needs a context, then it needs understanding. I know I talked about relationship and I talked about culture. It
Right.
needs an understanding. It needs an understanding in the sense that the giver of the truth has to understand that because of the relative nature of the truth that I possess, it can bring about empathy and sympathy and goodwill from the person I'm sharing it with, or it can stir up strife and conflict and chaos in the person I'm sharing it with.
Yes.
And so, in that sense, we are not saying they don't deserve to know the truth. You have to understand how to frame the truth to them. So, for instance, you made a very vague example in the beginning of our conversation today about a man who is unfaithful to the spouse, and they choose not to tell them. Does the spouse deserve to know the truth? Absolutely. Should the spouse be told the truth? Absolutely. The question is, how does he convey the truth to the spouse? Because based on just this truth alone, you and I both know, my dear listener, that it can go so many different ways. I mean, the
Yes.
man may either leave the house without his head, or he may go to the dining table and have his head. So, how you share your truth is very key. And so, it's not that people don't deserve to know the truth. Everybody, I repeat, everyone
Deserve.
deserves to know the truth. The question is the timing of the truth and the understanding that the sharer has. And so, my dear listener, listening to me out there, no matter what is going on in your life or what you have faced, your loved ones deserve to know the truth. Keeping the truth from them is a lie. But the way you convey the truth to them is of all importance. The way you will share truth with your three siblings is very different based on their level of maturity, their level of understanding, their tendencies, their what they are able to do with that truth. And I think another important concept that I will just mention briefly, and then we will get into that as we continue our conversation, is what you intend the truth to do in them. It's also very important. All these influence the understanding of your truth. And
Yeah.
so I hope that clarifies that. statement.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Joe. That clarifies it. And that's very powerful. And I just want viewers to, just get this understanding because I feel like in this society, I can't say all of it, but I feel like when the truth is shared, we receive it. We are very quick to receive it in as if the person did not think about it or think it through, if I should say.
Correct.
Like for example with what we just said already with the spouse being unfaithful. Say a month go by and then they tell you, or a year goes by and then they tell you. The wife reacts as if it happened yesterday, you
Mm,
know,
mm,
or the
mm,
husband or whatever spouse. But there is the person receiving the truth. I feel like in our society, once you deprive someone of truth, quote unquote, as we have understood today, lie to someone, whenever the truth comes out, there is no perception of grace or mercy towards that person.
mm,
We are very
mm,
quick to say, we just jump on the fact that they lied to us or they deprived us from the truth. We don't think through, why did that person keep it this long? Why are you telling me now? You know,
mm,
and I think
mm,
all that
mm,
plays in a role. And I think a lot of homes and marriages and relationships has been broken because we have captured this idea that once you lied, you lied. Forgetting
mhm,
about the person is telling you the truth now. They are telling you the truth now. Excuse me to say they did not go to the grave with the truth. They're still alive and breathing and they are sharing it with you now. That's the perception we have to go towards and start thinking, why now? Why this? Why that? Why that? Instead of attacking the fact that they deprived it. I don't know if that
mm, mm.
makes
Yeah, Sister Candace, and it's actually very important that you brought that up because there are things, as you were saying, I just took the pen and I was making some notes, things that we consider realities of truth. Realities of truth. Grace is a reality of truth because depending on the time and the context of truth that you receive, it can go anyway, like you are sharing with us. But if you, the receiver, understand that that truth has a potential to yield or to appeal to your grace, you realize that grace is something that's needed for it. As a matter of fact, Sister Candace, I will list a few realities of truth because I know we still haven't finished talking about the context of truth and it's almost time. But I consider grace, love, mercy, all as realities of truth. I also consider generosity and gratitude as
yeah.
realities of truth because whenever truth is received, it will spur up all these things in us. And these, my dear listeners, have a biblical foundation. Every truth you receive has a tendency to spur up grace, mercy, love, gratitude. Let me write that down because I'm going to forget. Help is a reality of truth. Every truth you receive can foster these things in you. It's up to you to see how these can play a role. And of course, we can also talk about the anger and the conflict, which our society tends to go into these aspects more. Conflict, anger, rejection. Those are all realities of truth, Sister Candace. And we can spend the next section talking about realities of truth because I just wanted to list them so our audience understand that truth has realities to them. And so I want to go back to the time and thing so we can at least finish that part of this conversation as well as the context of truth. so that we can maybe dive into realities of truth with our next conversation. So, the timing of truth is something that is very difficult to be able to ascertain, especially if you do not know the person that you will be conveying that truth to or
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
There are so many people in our society today, Sister Candace, who have become victims of premature truth because something happened. And yes, everybody claims that I want to know the truth. But do you really want to know the truth?
No, I don't know.
And do you know how you really know if you really wanted to know the truth? Look at your reaction after knowing the truth. That is what tells you if you really wanted to know the truth or if you really were ready for the truth. Because remember, in the example that I gave you, as loving as a mother or a father will be, they will still not give their newborn the same food they are eating because they know that their child is not ready for that truth.
All right.
If they should, God forbid, decide to give the baby or the infant soup, the infant has a response or a reaction to that that tells the parents that they are not ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, that is what we do as individuals. When we have heard a truth, even if it's the truth, how do we respond to them?
All right.
What are the realities we create with the truths that we receive? You can receive truth, and out of the reality you create, use that truth to harm someone else. The question then I will ask you is this: did you really benefit from the truth? Because, Sister Candace, as we are talking, I'm thinking about this thing in my mind. What is the point of truth if it's not to benefit us? What's the point of truth if it's not to bring about healing? Why give me truth if it's not going to help me heal? As a matter of fact, let me ask you, why do you ask for truth, my dear listener, if the purpose of that truth you are asking is not to help you heal? So something happened in your family, and you know that everybody around you have lied to you, and you want to know the truth. The question is, why do you need the truth? Because I would hope that your desire to know the truth
It's
is
for
to help you
healing.
heal from what happened. Aside from this, my dear listener, you don't really want to know the truth. You just want to create realities based on which you will be able to do things that you want to do. And I'm afraid and I'm sorry. That is not truth. That is a reality you create. Thank you.
I don't know why Dr. Joy is saying thank you because we're not done here. So, but I'm just trying to think this through because if are we saying that if our truth is like the timing is not right or the reason behind why you want the truth is not right, should we not desire the truth? If it's not to heal, if it's not to mend some form of brokenness or whatever that has happened, but you just want the truth because, for example, you just want to know, oh yeah, I told you guys this person is a bad person, like I told you guys, just to make a point. Should you not desire the truth? I don't
um, that's a hard question, but this is hour of healing. We deal with the hard and the difficult things here. So I will still say thank you for your question. But the truth of the matter, sister. Oh, we're talking about truth, and I say truth of the matter. The At the end of the day, Sister Candace, there is something, a fact or a principle that cuts across all truth. So even when seeking the truth is for something as benign as I just want to prove a point, the truth is still creating a reality. So, for instance, the example you just gave us, that you tell someone that, oh, this person or this business you're about to do has a very negative outcome, and the person proceeds with the business or proceeds to have a relationship with that person. The real reason why you want to know the truth is not because you just want to know it or you just want to prove a point. The reason why you want to know the truth of the outcome of that endeavor of the person you spoke to is actually to be able to mend the perception that you have already created. And so I would say that we always should press to know the truth, because everything that happens in life creates a perception,
reality.
creates a reality that we have to either amend, change, or adjust. And so, for instance, let's say you knew my wife before I married her, and you told me that this lady is this way, that she has, let's say, a bad attitude, she has a short temper, or she's a gossip. So you tell me, Joe, this lady is a gossip, don't proceed
Marry
with
her.
her. And I go ahead and I proceed and I marry her. And I realize, or even in the course of our courtship or relationship, dating, I realize that she is not a gossip. She is not disrespectful like you thought. It's a truth that I have to give back to you to mend your perception of her.
Okay.
If I don't give you that truth, I've lied to you. Why have I lied to you? Because you had a faulty perception that I knew was faulty based on my experience. That's the word again, experience.
Experience.
Based on my experience with that person or that situation, I know what the mindset you have or what you know about this person is wrong. But I did not help you correct it. That's why I said truths create realities. And these realities, I did not help you amend yours. And so I've
Mm-hmm.
lied to you. And so we should always seek the truth. We should always want to know the truth.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
always press for the truth.
Yeah.
But my question to you is, does the truth you are seeking is the reason to bring healing? Is the reason to help mend certain perceptions? Or you are seeking the truth to cause harm? Because we will find out as we continue our conversation that when truth causes harm, it's actually a lie.
Hallelujah. Can I get an amen, listeners? Oh, this was a very profound discussion, Dr. Joe. Yes, we actually, like I said, we need this in our societies because there's a distorted perception about truth and how we receive and how we go about it. We don't consider the timing, and sometimes we consider the timing, but we don't consider the relationship we have, the cultural aspect, and all that plays, it plays a big part of how we deliver truth and how we receive truth as well. So, viewers, meet us next week, this same time. But I'm going to let Dr. Joe wrap it up as hopefully we'll dive in next week, this same topic.
Yeah, thank you, Sister Candice, and dear listeners for sticking with us. By way of summation, Sister Candice, I would say we will touch on a few of these next week as well. So I would just employ our listeners to tune in so that we can finish this thought-provoking and life-changing conversation next week. So we hope you can tune in. We will see you then. Bye bye.